You're listening to the Precision Shooting Podcast, discussing all aspects of precision and long-range rifle shooting. This episode is brought to you by Scoped Out Shooting Optics and Accessories. And now, over to your hosts.
Well, hello and welcome to the Precision Shooting Podcast. This is episode number 69. Stop sniggering, Greg. I'm glad you're excited for the episode, but let's keep things above board for at least 10 minutes. My name is Rusty, and that obviously is Greg, the snicker you heard in the background. How are you, Greg?
Yeah, good.
Yep, still distracted, I can tell. And also joining us via Skype is Mr. Simon Ross from Canberra. How are you, Simon?
Yes, very well, Rusty. Thanks for having me on.
No problems at all, mate. And you, I guess, have been on the show before, talking about the Precision Service Rifle series.
That's correct. Yes, it was a good interview.
Although that's gone back quite a while now, so it's I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you.
And well, now that we brought up that topic, tell us a bit about how the series are going. You've had quite a few matches this year. It's about 10 or more, isn't it? All up?
Yeah, I think we had a sort of 11 for the year, spread across Canberra, Victoria down in Castlemaine and Hornsby up in New South Wales. And we're getting the home stretch now with 3 to go, with the championship still being a tight contention between a number of the top shooters. So, we just finished a competition on the weekend, which is a popular long-range one because we have a 1,000-yard range here in Canberra. So we stretched the legs a bit and had competitors shooting at clays at 1,035 yards. You'd be happy to know that the clays were safe for the weekend due to some of the tricky wind conditions.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, and we even had a bit of a side bet going. So the pot's getting bigger every single day. But it was a fantastic day, and we shot from 1,000 yards down to 600 for that one, and we had a bit of different positions on the way down.
And you had quite a few shooters for that one for Canberra, is that right?
Yeah, we had 31 shooters.
Oh,
and so it just goes to show that when you do offer some different types of ranges, because obviously people from Sydney don't really have an opportunity to shoot 1,000 yards too often at their local clubs and ranges. And so, the feedback was extremely positive, which means that we'll be, of course, doing a lot more of them.
Absolutely. And from some of the photos, I saw a little bit of positional stuff creeping in, or barricade type stuff creeping in.
Yeah, that's right. We modelled off something called a Swedish match that obviously us internet generation just stumbled on when we were Googling, the type of matches for inspiration. And we decided to mix and match not only long range, but put them into, different types of positions of sitting off the side of mounds and across the top of a few barricades. In fact, my barricade builder couldn't actually make it, so I had to do some quick thinking with some tank traps.
Yeah.
But mostly it was standard, bipod and everything else. It was really designed for, wind calls, precision, arguing with your 2IC, throwing things at him throwing things at you, and so that was that type of match that we had on the weekend.
A pretty standard team match.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, some friendships made and destroyed, but you'd be happy to know that we had a target. It was about 50 centimetres by 60 centimetres by memory, like a figure 12 target, and the winner only dropped a single shot off the target. 40 rounds in total, and he hit 39 on target. So, outstanding shooting.
That's pretty good. Who happened to win that one?
As you know, probably no surprise, Mr. Crisp from down South Tasmania, and I want to have a shout out to poor old Lucas McKenny. They're a bit of a team now, and he turned up on the morning and he jumped on the mobile phone, and I overheard him having a bit of I wouldn't say it was a strong conversation, but a stressful conversation. He left his ammunition on the reloading bench back in Melbourne. So I actually overheard him, and he was just basically going to have to not shoot for the day. So I actually said, I just lent him my rifle and said, mate, you might as well shoot because you come all this way. And he was very thankful for the day. But he broke broke the cardinal sin of when you borrow someone's rifle ammunition load development. He beat me with it. So well done, Lucas. But yeah,
you know your gun
that's
works.
exactly. Well, it was actually quite good because, I dropped 11 points and he only dropped 5 or 6 points or something. And of course, you do sometimes in the back of your mind blame the equipment every now and then. But this was fantastic. Just to show that my win calls were absolutely
confirms
pathetic.
everything.
And his was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, good. Well, it sounds like it was good fun anyway, and it's really good to hear that sort of thing when someone is in trouble with their equipment, people step up. And from what I got told by Lucas, you weren't the only one to offer a gun up as an option there.
Yeah, no, it was really good. He was very gracious and thankful, and it was not a problem at all. In fact, I normally take a second to the comps just for that reason, because we've all been there. The devastating look in your face when you forgot the bolt, forgot the ammo, forgot something, and instantly once you've got them something to concentrate on, a new rifle, new whatever, then their whole demeanor changes. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about having a good time. It's about enjoying yourself. So. No, fantastic, mate, and glad to hear those numbers are getting up. I know the Melbourne shoot is pumping away with quite a few regular attendees, and in fact selling out quite often.
Yeah, 40 odd, mid to low 40s is fantastic. And Jared does a brilliant effort trying to corral that number of shooters because, we know you guys do a brilliant job as well. But yeah, for a guy that sort of started the whole match directing thing, is just fantastic. It's a well-oiled machine now, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I'm intending to get over there for the one in what does that put us? November for the one in Victoria.
Yep.
So I'm really hoping to be able to be there and see it all run, see it all nice and smooth. Now, how did Jared go? Didn't Jared do really well at the Canberra shoot as well?
Okay, you're probably right, actually, because there was a bit of controversy with the shooter A, shooter B markings when we took their names down.
Right.
And I might have had him mixed around. So yes, Jared did win. Sorry. Right. And George was second.
There we go. Crispy loses.
Sorry,
mate.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah. Selling some false hope.
Yeah. I'm surprised Jared didn't. If Jared hear this. How you going, Jared? Sorry, mate.
Oh, good. Oh, well, there's always a bit of controversy about that sort of stuff. That's a good way to be.
Yeah, no, he's almost shot out the barrel of his rifle. He does that every 6 weeks, so he's probably onto a new barrel already. So that's how he rolls.
He's moved on. Excellent. And speaking of getting out and shooting, Greg, you had a bit of an eventful weekend. Gone as well.
Just spent 4 days, 3 nights out, sort of varmint shooting and pest control shooting. So yeah, it went pretty well. I had a bit of trouble with my thermal, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, I rushed a rifle together, and when you rush something, it doesn't quite turn out how you want it to. So I didn't do enough range time to sort of iron out all the bugs, and it bit me on the first and second night.
Oh no!
Yeah, just had trouble with zero. But yeah, ironed it out on the last night, and then I was fine. But yeah, no, I was with Sean from STS, and yeah, he shot really well. But yeah, ended up with about, I think, 11 or 12 foxes, and sorted out some quite a few rabbits, and
Excellent.
So no, it was good to be out.
Good time away, and I saw a video of a fox checking out your swag while you weren't there.
Yeah, we had a big feed of lamb chops, and we're just throwing all our scraps out, and Sean put a time lapse camera on our campsite, and then we went off adventuring, and when the sun went down, a little fox came in and cleaned up the campsite for us. Yeah, all caught on camera. But the fox pups were out. So they were pretty game.
It's very generous of him.
Yeah,
to clean up camp for you.
That was good.
That's good. Yeah, nicely done. Well, I didn't get out shooting, so there you go. Good story. But I'm going to Melbourne tomorrow. Today it's Wednesday night, and this podcast will actually probably go up later Wednesday night. So if you're listening to it just as soon as it's come out, I'll be on the road tomorrow to Melbourne for a bit of a gun show over there at the Arms and Military Affair. But most importantly, on Friday night, we're going to be at the Terminus Hotel in Fitzroy North, or North Fitzroy, one or the other, doing a bit of a catch-up night. So if you want to come along and have a beer, if you happen to hear this before Friday night, about 7 o'clock. You would be welcome to come down, but we have been plugging it on Facebook and the website as well. I've got in my hands, well, actually I'm passing over to Greg right now, a chassis that we've been loaned for a couple of weeks, just to have a bit of a play with. It's a Masterpiece Arms chassis. One of their light, there's a name on it there, a BA light. So it's not necessarily a full competition. Obviously, the Masterpiece Arms chassis are a very predominant chassis over in the US for the PRS, as well as in other disciplines. And this is, I believe, without doing the full research, like their light version hunting type sort of style, probably closer, getting closer to an ESS, but not quite in some ways. What do you think there, Greg?
Yeah, very nice, very nice. You can tell the quality's there. They've done a lot of cutouts here to get the weight down all through the chassis, all through the buttstock's quite skeletal. But yeah, very nice. And I like the inbuilt cant bubble in the back.
Yeah, the back of the stock.
Quite a good add. So it's sort of inbuilt to the stock just behind where the action would be, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's a really nice, really tight, light stock.
Yeah, it looks good, and certainly their stocks, their chassis are sort of in the higher end for the competition stuff. Simon, have you ever played with one of these?
No, I haven't. I was just researching them before. Yeah, they do look pretty Gucci.
They got lots of little options with barricade stops and bits and pieces and sliding bipods and all this sort of gear. So this one I don't think has all those features, but certainly the competition level chassis do. What are you running on your setup currently, Simon?
Oh, I've always been a bit of a traditionalist. Accuracy International, thumb hole, AT, and I previously had AI on the old Stiller. Yep. And the reason I like it is because when we're shooting, the Hawkins and getting down nice and low, it's got the big, sometimes with a big pistol grip or type of arrangement, it does tend to put the back of the rifle fairly high, and I can get nice and low. But as you know, it's something I've been shooting since I was in the early 20s. So it's been it's just been something that you always gravitate to.
And pretty familiar with it, and so it makes sense. When I did shoot that AI of Butters, the AX, when I shot that up in Darwin, I did find Hawkins really quite easy and comfortable on that particular setup. So I don't know, maybe it's just something about the build of the AIs, but that was quite a comfortable position to take.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think it's because of the fact that that it is a military style firearm, and it is a recognised position where you don't necessarily have the benefits of flat ground in front of you when you put your rifle down. That getting a low profile is critical.
Yeah, absolutely, making the most of what you have got. It's good. The other thing that we wanted to mention was I don't think we've really talked about this one, Greg, is Patreon.
No.
We sort of set it up on the sly the other week, and it's on the website. And if you don't know what Patreon is, it basically allows those who like our show enough can donate money to the cause effectively on a monthly or episode sort of basis, and doesn't generally doesn't have to be much, $1 or $2 or $5 or $10 a month or something like that, and it just goes into the running costs of keeping the website up and keeping the file sharing or the podcast content actually online, because all that stuff costs money, and we'd like to do some equipment upgrades and bits and pieces. So I guess sort of reluctantly we've set it up, and we haven't actually talked about it. And then someone who we're very thankful for actually found it and jumped online and started was our first contributor. So we thought, oh well, all right, we better make mention of this. So if you do like the show and you can spare us $1 a month or a couple of bucks a month or whatever, there's a couple of little benefits you do get as well, some Q&A stuff and other bits and pieces. But just on our website, you can hit the Patreon button and find out some of the options, and we would certainly appreciate it, because it will allow us to make this sound a little bit better and try and block out noises of Greg opening cans in the background. And
busted,
and other bits and pieces, and we'll hopefully go into to improving and making a even better show. So anyway, if you are that way inclined, that'd be great. If not, continue listening. We'd still love to have you on board. Absolutely. So cool. All right, we've done enough on that, haven't we?
Yeah.
We'll move on. Cool. So tonight, Andrew sent his apologies, by the way. He is stuck at work and can't get here. But we got an email from someone recently, and they asked a bunch of questions. So this is from a gentleman by the name of Alex, and he, it's fairly lengthy. He gives a little bit of a background, and ironically, he gives the background for Andrew, because Andrew always says he liked some more context to the question, and he's not here, so that's gone quite well. I'll run through it quickly, give you guys a bit of a heads up of the background of it, and then get into a couple of the questions. So, he's been listening to the podcast, and he's caught up from wherever episode 1 to episode, I guess, 68 so far, and he's got a bunch of questions. He's a student. Oh, that explains all the time he's got. In Sydney, and the family farm is 4 hours away, so I guess grew up on a farm, has never set foot on a range, but has done a fair bit of hunting and culling over the years with the beat-up farm guns, haven't we all? I've always enjoyed it, but never had much time or money to put into it. About to graduate, congratulations. So planning on new 223 Hauer varmint to tune up in. He's a big fan of the manuals put out by Nathan Forster over in New Zealand, who runs ballisticstudies.com, with a website I'm more than happy to promote. That's an excellent website, which has been a great source of info on accurate shooting in general. For spotlighting and daylight culling on foxes is the purpose for that 223. Since gun was for hunting within 3 yards, he's already bought a 4-16 by 44 Viper from Vortex with a BDC reticle and standard covered turrets. I'm doing well here, Greg. But after listening to the show, I reckon I'll go for a few STS targets and try the new rifle at longer ranges. I'm pretty sure Sean knows us a carton now.
Yeah, pretty much.
I reckon that's the way it works. So anyway, we're on to the questions. So how should I start trying to push the 223 out there? What sort of ranges and what sort of size targets would you recommend a precision shooting novice starts trying to hit with a 223 using only holdover? He does perhaps suggest that he should get a thermal and a bubble level, and everything else will take care of itself.
What is he saying?
I think he's following your lead there, bad guy. All right, so coming back to that question, how do you go about starting to push that 223, and what sort of ranges and target size would be appropriate given what he's doing? Simon, we'll throw that to you first, mate. Straight into it.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, because obviously, the twist rate of the barrel will dictate a lot of what he can and can't shoot in terms of projectile weight. I always thought that the 69 grainer, what I grew up on, was always the go-to sort of general purpose, Sierra Match King general purpose projectile weight.
Greg snickering again.
This is a long time ago now, but.
The old 50, sorry to jump in there, but the 53 grain VMAX Hornady has got an unusually high BC too that compares with the 69s.
Yeah.
But that's a strange one. That's an anomaly.
Well,
yeah.
I actually use the 55 grain AMAX in my 22-250, which I believe, because it's bloody fantastic.
Yeah.
But in terms of ranges, it all depends on, as I experienced on the weekend, the type of conditions you're shooting at, spotlighting around sort of where I live at night. The wind has generally dropped off now that the heat's taken out of the day. But then you of course you're at the slave to the length of the spotlight. But during the day and the afternoon around here, the wind comes up, and if you're shooting the 53 grainer, then I wouldn't be trying to hit anything more than a 30 centimeter target past 300, 400. Speaking from experience, strong experience, of course. But like I said, because it's used for varminting and basic work, then anything out to 300, I think would be easily what we call 1 minute of fox or 1 minute of rabbit. But yeah, no, I'd love to know the twist rate, because obviously 80s is what everyone tries to go for in the target community because of the heavy bullet weight, which means less wind resistance. You do sacrifice a bit of flatness when you're trying to work on your holdovers. And that's where the 50, as you said before, the 53, 55 grains have a bit more, sort of go for it. But in terms of a starting point, he's done brilliantly well. Howar's now getting a lot more aftermarket accessories I've ever seen before. Every time I open up an ad, there's another Howard stock, so he's doing really well there. He should be right.
Well, I do believe those Howards are a 1 in 9 twist rate.
Okay.
Generally speaking, in 223s now. They changed about 4-ish years ago. They changed from 1 in 12 down to down to whatever, a 1 in 9. So he does actually list in his next sentence the 55 grainers and potentially the 69 SMKs for long range sort of practice. So that's in, I guess, your first question there, Simon, was what twist rate is it, and then clarified as to why, and I think that he probably sits in the right camp there with a 1 in 9, that he's got the options there of jumping between those two.
There's a 75 grain was always popular too, because you can fit in the magazines. I'm not too familiar if the Hauer, if it's the magazine or just a standard follower system, especially if you're running tickers. It was always the 70. I can't remember now, 75 grain I think it was, because the 80s you just couldn't feed them out long enough. So I think the 75s you could just get in a 1 in 9 twist too, by the way. I think just. Yeah. So yeah, he's 69. I've shot 69s, just some spectacular groups, and everything else. And they're very easy to, the projectiles easy to get. A lot of the manufacturers usually aim for around that bullet weight too.
Yeah, I've used the 69 grainers in my 223 and been very, very happy with it. And in fairness, we've taken that sort of comfortably out to 700 and a bit more, 800. My sort of thoughts on target size would be relevant to what he's doing. If he's spotlighting with it, well, use rabbit-sized targets and fox-sized targets that are appropriate for the, dropping the things. Even getting, we're talking STS, he'd mentioned that, so STS make fox and rabbit targets. So something like that would be a sensible way to do it, because then you're actually practicing on what you're going to be shooting.
I actually have an old Springfield tactical scope. I don't think they make them anymore. That had the original. It's quite innovative because it actually had a spirit level inside the scope. So when you look through it, you could actually adjust your cans. And they came in two types. There was a 223 and a 308. And would you believe in the 223 they actually had a ballistic reticle. Sorry, the ballistic markings on the reticle. So you'd have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And if you read the instructions, it was designed for a 69 grainer Sierra Match King doing 3,000 feet per second.
Yeah, right.
And so I thought it was interesting because, trying to get a 69 at 3,000 feet per second was a bit of a challenge. But
it's a fair effort.
Yeah, it must have been for longer barrels, but no, it was spectacular because as you said, 7, put it on the 7, and I told the range a couple of times with a fairly hot load, and brilliant, just fantastic. But unfortunately, they don't make them anymore, which is a real shame. They had a 308 version, and it was tuned to the 168 grain Sierra Match King at 2,600 feet per second. So there you go.
More achievable on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Greg, this is right up your alley. 223s on foxes and rabbits and stuff.
Yeah. Well, my 223, I had a 1 in 12 and I ran lighter. But obviously, this fella's looking at doing other tasks too. So he's got to pick one in preference, and one the other's either going to suffer or not. But yeah, I ran the lighter end. I ran 53 grainers. The Tiger, I was running a Tiger, and it really, really loved them. So I was, getting excellent groups. I ran the VMAX because I'm vomiting. So really good energy transfer on foxes. So for me, that was a perfect mix. I was decking foxes out. Well, my record at night is 403 with the 223. But it gets a bit shaky out there. Gets a bit, any sort of wind, and it's starting to get tough to call. But I do practice out to 700 with a 223 or 750. But again, it's tough to call that wind if it's gusty. In a consistent wind, you can pull it off. But yeah, they get pretty shaky out there. They're pretty light. But in terms of target size, I usually carry around a 2 MOA at 500, which is a quick deploy target from STS.
Yeah, it's 291 millimetres.
This is the one. Yep.
That target size.
Yep. And that's a great little target. I'll just chuck that in the car, and quite often I'll, stick that out at a couple of hundred or 100 initially if I want to check the zero, and then I'll drop it straight out to 500.
Yep.
Just make sure my drops are on. If it's a centerfire, I'll drop it out to 700 and just quickly do a cowl. So that's a really good target size. The quick deploy is a really good option because you can just chuck it in the car and grab a star dropper off the farm or whatever. So that makes it really practical as part of your hunting kit. But yeah, 223, great little round, great caliber. Killed a lot of foxes with one of those guns.
And certainly can go a lot longer than many people give it credit for. And when it's set up well with a good twist rate, you can certainly push it out there.
Yeah.
So the next point he says is for the time being, here we go. For the time being, say the ammo I'll be shooting is OSA 55 grain Blitz Kings or Game Kings for hunting, and potentially the 69 Outback ammo SMKs for LR practice, which you referenced before, which I think covers exactly what we were talking about.
Yep.
Next question there is he has an old spotting scope, but not a rangefinder. If he's just trying to learn, is it important that I get one? Perhaps let's throw two things in there. One being the rangefinder, and the other one is the spotting scope. How important do these two pieces of items play a role? Greg, will
for me, the rangefinder is a no-brainer. With the 223, when he starts reaching out, that's going to be dropping pretty solid.
Yep.
And you're going to need a fairly accurate range with very little margin of error to hit on target. So yeah, if like I said, if you're going to reach out, that the rangefinder is just a no-brainer to me. Obviously, he's looking at hunting, so you might want to step up. Don't buy something at the cheap end, because as soon as you get out bush and you start getting those, salt bush and all that sort of stuff, an 800 metre, 1,000 metre rangefinder becomes a 600 metre rangefinder. So yeah, just buy something good, buy something once. But yeah, definitely rangefinder for me.
Yeah, I find that when you're trying to practice estimating range over dead ground, I'm hopeless at it. And it's when I bought myself a rangefinder that you look at your mate and go, oh yeah, that tree's 200 metres, and of course it was 80 or something. Or opposite, it was 400.
Especially under spotlight.
Oh yeah, but yeah, right. I couldn't agree more. In hunting, spotlight's really. Sorry, I say again. A rangefinder is really good for learning the trying to, because we always do the cricket, the sort of the rugby pitch. That's what do you call it, the rugby league pitch. Yeah, that's your guys' AFL pitch or something. But yeah, I was hopeless at it. It wasn't until I got a rangefinder that I could actually start to predict it much easier. But then again, it's also for bigger animals as well, because as you said, a fox at 400 metres, the margin of error is significant.
Yeah.
But in terms of target use, I wouldn't bother because,
the
all the ranges have correct, yeah. And that's where a spotting scope becomes in its own as well, because you always have hopefully a friend helping you spot the target after you let it go, and then he can give you the call to get you on, so you get more confidence in the gear. But yeah, absolutely in the field.
Yeah, and I think also the rangefinder ties in well with learning a ballistic app and getting all your inputs right, and letting the ballistic app teach you, your solutions, and like we've said before, it's only as good as your worst entry.
Yep.
So getting all your entries right.
And I usually spell my name wrong on those things, so
yeah,
off to a flyer.
Yeah, so I think that would tie in really well with learning to reach out and getting a ballistic app on your smartphone and really start trying to understand how that thing works, and it will teach you pretty quickly of what sort of solutions you're after.
Yeah, I'm going to side with you guys and say that the rangefinder is probably the pick out of those two. And having one or not having one, definitely get one. Predominantly, if you're hunting or if you're going to be shooting by yourself on unknown distances, your property at home or something like that. If you are going to a range or you are going shooting with the same guys regularly and they have one, save yourself the money and put the money in elsewhere, but eventually realize that as part of the kit, whether it's yours or the guys you shoot with, it's going to be a pretty essential part of that kit. And I've been fairly fortunate where I've been without my own decent rangefinder for quite a long time, but all the guys I had around had good rangefinders, or I was shooting on areas that I know the range is already predetermined.
I just recently picked up a Sig Kilo that everyone keeps talking about, a 2000 model. It was cheap. It was in my wife's budget, as we all know. And what a fantastic piece of kit that is.
Yeah, right.
For a guy that doesn't do much, long range hunting or all that sort of thing. It was just brilliant. Loved it. I highly recommend it.
What sort of ranges you getting on? What sort of environments?
Yeah, really good question. So, we're just playing with it at the range, and we were up to the big stop butt, as you know, a big hill in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the classic grass, tree, the occasional rock, 1,000 meters easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
1,005 meters, that's where you could start staring. It was just fading in and out, in and out. And it had the AMR feature, I think, which means it adjusts, I think, if you had, if it's higher and lower. I haven't tried reflective yet, because we haven't got anything out that yet to, sort of at the range that can reflect off.
Mm-hmm.
But I was mentally impressed of being able to hit off a grassy hill at 1,000 meters, I'll just hold the finger down and you can move it up and down the hill. It was just constantly giving you the current range. I can see now where people rave on about them.
Yeah, right. And what's the recommended retail on those these days?
Well, because it's an older model, I think we're up to the 2400 now, and I think there's a 2200, and I went for the 2000. I think I picked mine up for online for about $400 and plus $450, I think it was.
Oh, bargain.
Memory? Yeah.
In the shooting world, if it's under $1,000, you're doing all right.
Oh, absolutely. And it was brand new in the box. Yeah, I was lucky. I think I just picked it up at the right time and space, and the wife wasn't looking. But everyone, I've a mate of mine, Stu's got the Leica. I think he's got the Leica.
Oh, yeah, they're not a bad. Yeah, I had a Leica for a while, the 1600B. I don't know what the new one's like.
Yeah, I think he's got something similar, and it was fantastic as well. But I don't know. He wouldn't tell me how much he paid for it, so I wasn't too sure. But if I was a student, and I was looking, as you all alluded to before, because you're going to make a decision. Because I did have 100 years ago, I went to Walmart when I was in the States and bought one of those Bushnell. It's like a 450 or something. I only paid $190 for it. But to be honest with you, it was just no good because you just couldn't. It wouldn't laze a grassy knoll past 200-300.
Yeah.
Then I read the box again. It was designed for bow and arrows, which is sort of buyer beware. But anyway, we won't go there. It's a bit silly. That's what happens when you buy something cheap. But for the extra couple $100, now it's just something I'm never not have in the pack when we go out bush.
Very good.
Spotting scope can be really, really important, and I think, Simon, you said before that it's great when there's two of you doing it. It's difficult unless you're shooting a lot of paper to spot your own shots with it. But you can use a good quality scope effectively. I'd probably go down the path of putting that money, if you were to buy a good spotting scope. Make sure you've got that money invested in your scope first.
Yeah.
And then if you do, and then you're wishing for a spotting scope on top of that, then great, go for it. Or if you, again, in that collective, if there's a few of you, one buy a rangefinder, one buy a good spotting scope, and bits and pieces. So you've got good gear. But I have seen guys waste put cheap money into a spotting scope when they really need to throw some serious cash into it.
Yeah.
Because they can be, they very quickly reach their limit if they're at the lower end of the budget very quickly, and you feel very disappointed by them.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more, Rusty. You've seen, you shoot. You want to be able to have more confidence when shooting, in terms of the target, remove all the variables. So having a good quality rifle scope is the starting point. And then once you shoot it more, especially a student, you've obviously got to start out sort of, learning. And then once you've worked out what you want to do moving forward, for like we've all done, we always gravitate to things we enjoy because we're good at it. And then you can start investing your money somewhere else. The reason I did invest in a top-end spotting scope, though, for the shoots that we do, the precision service rifle shooting, is because you absolutely do want to give as much chance you can to see the swirls and see the fall of shot.
Agreed. Yep.
It's just critical. Yeah, because you're yelling at your partner. Everyone's yelling at, it's pretty fun and rapid where you can't even hear yourself think because everyone's screaming at them, come left, go right, come up, come down. But if you can see that swirl, and obviously there's little nuances where you sort of focus it 20 metres, 30 metres in front of the target type of thing, it did make a big difference, massive difference for my scores, being able to see the fall of shot properly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so speaking of spending money, his next question is this. What's the consensus on the most important equipment I should focus on getting for developing and reloading accurate rounds? I know you spoke about reloading kits before, but I'm picking through Gumtree, other second-hand sales, garbage bins, for anything you can find. Obviously, being a student, funds are limited. So looking to get started for as little as possible, but I don't want to waste money on stuff I'll throw out down the track. That's the kicker, isn't it? Right there.
Tough one.
I'll kick off with that one. And I'm going to suggest that it's not necessarily always the equipment that you're using in reloading as much as is on your patience and the time you take with it. You can get exceptionally good loads out of okay equipment. Of course, you got to make sure your scales are consistent and bits and pieces like that, which I'm sure we'll get into. But you would be much better to spend your time in it than think you can just throw money at it and it all goes away and becomes magic. Because I've seen guys with top end equipment do very average loads because they rush it. And I've seen the flip side where guys are using very cheap sort of, let's say a cheap league kit that's second hand that they bought from someone who's then upgraded to something else. They've still got really impressive loads out of it, but it's taken them, they've just gone over and over things and paid really good attention to things. Yeah,
I'd probably say with me, I started with a basic kit, and I guess they're not the cheapest things in the world from a student perspective. Your whole RCBS kit. But you could certainly put the same things together cheaper from second-hand options. But I started with the basic kit, and just slowly upgraded bits and pieces of my reloading gear to sort of make different steps of my reloading easier or quicker or more precise. And I spent quite a bit of time slowly building up my reloading gear. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind. You might not get to the level overnight, but you can sort of identify things that are letting down your different reloading processes, or you're struggling to get consistent, and you can upgrade that particular component. So you can sort of slowly just do it in priority order as the finances allow. So, that's what I did, just different perspective.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing. I think I bought the anniversary kit from the local gun store and slowly just sort of replaced, upgraded, changed as the funds and the experience became more relevant. I must say, though, my first 4 attempts of reloading a 308 case, I think I turned the case into a BR case. Too much luck. So the only advice I'd give anyone, and we think we all know this, is do not hesitate to go and a club, and I did through the club, get some advice about setting up all your reloading gear. It's, mate, trust me, how many times I've read the instruction manual and everything else, and the reason I was crunching the rounds, would you believe, is because it was just simply I wasn't inside chamfering the case mouse, and the projectile was not lining up properly, and it's crushing the case. So it was really, really, really good learning things. And nowadays, when I get new guys come up to the club, first thing I do is offer, mate, trust me, bring me over to your house. Just give me a coffee or a beer, and I'll sit down and set it up, and I'll save you days and days of frustration.
I had 2 guys here last night actually learning reloading, and they watched, both of them relatively knowledgeable on the topic, so to speak. They'd watched heaps of videos, they'd read lots, And they said that they that information they sort of knew it, but it hadn't sunk in. They hadn't done it.
Put the pieces together.
And we went through from scratch all the way through to loaded cases, and they both said, "Oh, look, it's backed up a lot of the stuff we sort of had learnt, but to get hands on with it and do it and have someone show you the process, just changed it. Yeah, same as what you're saying, Tommy. You skip past a whole stack of those little learning curves.
And how much lubrication to put in a case? You over lube, under lube, and both of them can be different results. So I kept,
setting dies properly, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's plenty of traps for young players.
Yeah, so perhaps we've sidestepped the question there from Alex in that not necessarily saying the equipment is everything. Perhaps the knowledge, the experience, and the time taken is no matter what equipment you've got. Would be very more critical. But if we were to throw maybe two pieces of equipment each that we would put the priority on, Greg, what would you sort of that towards the top of the list as starting out?
I really obviously an automatic powder thrower was a big game changer for me. Just purely of time, especially if he's talking about competition, he's going to be loading some considerable amounts of rounds. It will save him a lot of time. The other thing I really liked was I bought a automatic. It trims internal and external deburrs at the same time. Gerald trimmer. My favourite items were probably time savers more than anything.
And have both gone for the expensive options for the student.
Yeah, sorry, student.
Well done.
Buy one second hand. Does that work?
What about you, Simon? Couple of the two, maybe the piece of equipment was worthwhile spending a touch more on, perhaps.
Look, it's a no-brainer. I think we've all got our balance beams. I used to use those, and you're right. It was, if I was saving time, if I was doing load development, then electronic scales are far superior because you could only do your 0.2, 0.3 grain increments and just press of a button rather than have to readjusting the powder throw each time. But no, after that, look. Oh, it's a hard one there because I'm still debating with friends what type of lubricant to use. What's better? Let's use the Huntin one shot, or they go to the wax. We go from very expensive discussions to the cheaper the cheap, and we argue black and blue. I've had one lubricant, I think it was the orange one. Was that Lyman, and couldn't use it anymore. Because it kept putting a dent in the cases. The hydraulic lockup, I think it's called, maybe, put dents in the cases. Yep. I now use that for pistol only. So I still use it for pistols only, but that was a lessons learned. So I don't know, it's a tough one. Get yourself a good stable bench would be a good start. I've had to reload in the bedroom once. That didn't go down well when you've got you look down in the carpet, realise you got lots of powder being thrown down there, and you went, that's probably not a good idea.
Yep.
I've invested in a good heavy bench because you don't want to flex. I've had it when I was flexing every time you put the handle down. It's pretty funny. And clean. Oh, and the other one is clean and tidy too. I do a big subscriber on making sure that you don't have complexity when you're reloading because of the common sense approach to picking up the wrong die / powder / projectile, whatever, and having everything neat and tidy means that you have more chance of being of doing everything proper. So that's usually something I usually mention to a few people. How do you find anything? How do you find the right case holder and the right the right die? It took me forever trying to find something if I had some of my mates set up, but that's what it is. So yeah,
I'm pretty glad you can't see this place at the moment. It's not in good condition. It was real clean last night actually when we were doing the reloading thing, but not so much now. No, don't take long to trash this place.
You just have to outsource it, Rusty, if it's not core business. So,
that's right. It's actually. I said Andrew is working tonight. That's what he's doing. He's here. He's busy tidying up the place. So.
He's been a naughty boy to reload for
you. So I was going to put two things forward. One would be the powder scales of whatever format that takes, be the manual or automatic or anything. But I would certainly not skimp out on the powder scales, getting consistency with that, even if it's the balance beams. Not a big fan of those Lee ones, but an RCBS one or a Reading one or something that's easy to use but got a good reputation, because you want that powder to be consistent. And the other one, I'm going to go with now I'm trying to think of the name of it.
You're looking for something.
I'm looking at it's right behind that powder thrower there. It's the flash hole deburr or uniformer on the inside. Point. So we've seen, and I guess it's a bit of a pet like. It's a quick little easy way to generally improve SD very easily and very quickly, is to deburr that inside of the primer of the flash hole. And that has, sort of continued to give good results across the board. So, and they're a relatively cheap little tool. So that's what I'm going to suggest. They're two areas I'd put some focus on. But I think that the overwhelming response has been knowledge and time is a much more effective way of getting good loads than necessarily throwing money at the equipment. That has its place, as someone like Greg knows, throwing money at things. But
solves every problem. I'll just throw in one quick one for a student option for a powder.
Yeah, because all yours were not cheap.
No, actually, I ended up. I've been using a Gems Pro 250, which is about $250 from the US. So that's far cheaper than an automatic thrower. So you could trickle into one of those and get pretty close to single grain accuracy if you were going to be pedantic about it. But very good way of stepping up your powder accuracy at a cheaper price. So
good tip.
Something to think about.
Good tip. All right, we are on to one last question. Last one, and I like this one. Certainly something I enjoy playing with. Got an old Bruno Model 2 that I love to shoot, and it's pretty basic configuration. Original stock setup for kids, small hand grip, fore-end, non-free floating barrel with a cheapo scope. Trigger is great, and the barrel seems pretty good, although it's standard sort of thin barrel. And what are some good value for money stock and scope improvements you think I could make to this rifle to make it more suitable for practicing shooting basics, but still usable for walking, shooting around some steep hills? And then same question about range, target size, reasonable for a beginner with a 22. Budget is a big factor on this one.
I think Boyd's make a very cost-effective stock for Bruno Model 2s.
They do.
I was looking at one the other day for getting into 22 tactical events, because you get a bit more of a cheek world rather than the hunting version. And after that, I also think that if someone was to manufacture a Picatinny rail from Bruno Model T, they would fly off the shelves, because then you can then really have a plethora of available scope rings and scopes and mounts and cants and everything else. But trying to fit it into the what's the name of the groove on top of the Bruno Model 2s? A weaver? Is it a weaver style? Just a proprietary style? I can't remember.
Dovetail. Yeah.
Dovetail. Thank you. Yeah,
sort.
dovetail. So if you have a dovetail to Picatinny adapter, geez, that would open up a whole bunch of options. 30mm tubes, tall, short, wide, high. That would be my view. Triggers usually on the Bruno Model 2 is pretty good, so you wouldn't need to touch. I've actually got one, a Model 2E, had it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Bloody fantastic rifle.
Yeah, I've had one for a long time, funnily enough, sitting in a Boyd stock currently. Done a modification on the trigger with changing out the spring, and that was, I found enough to really sort of turn it into a comfortable gun for the type of triggers that I like. I think he brings up a really good point here, which no doubt we've talked about before and probably we'll talk about again, but the 22, the practical type matches are starting to be more prevalent, particularly in Australia, because I think for a lot of rangers, it's they don't have the restrictions on what they can do with the 22 as much as they have on the centerfire. So we're starting to see a lot more traction with that side of things than we are. The centerfire stuff is ticking along, but the 22 stuff is really starting to take off, which is good. And it's also really... one, it's affordable because you can pretty much use whatever you like still at this stage. And two, it's very attainable for most people. Most people have either a 22 or access to a 22. It's not expensive to get out for a day and shoot, 100, 200 rounds. And you can really test the same skills out quite significantly, and can be very, very challenging. So I've forgotten the question. How do we tweak this gun to be more along those lines? The Boyd stocks are good. I mean, of course, an MPA would be really nice for a Mustby's arm chassis, and they do make that for a 22. I do know that that the MDT do chassis. If you're if you're up around that sort of budget, the MDTs they do make options for the CZs, and the trigger. I know he doesn't ask about trigger. We're just putting that in there for him. Scope. I probably, if possible, I'd probably move that 4-16 by 44 Viper across to the 22 and do something different with the 2-3. But that's just the way I'd go. Either way, if you could get something relatively cheap on there and just get stuck into it, I think it'd be the main thing. Get it shooting and tweak it as much as you need to. If you want to keep that price down. I'm still gonna say swap that scope over, put that on the 22 and run something different on your 2-3 that's perhaps a little bit more in line with that you can dial up quite comfortably, and more along that line. Not necessarily changing the magnification. Magnification would be appropriate, but something you can dial a little bit. Really depends on which way you want to go with it, what your longer term plan is as well, and that scope is probably not too heavy to be wandering up and down hills.
What sort of reticules in that thing?
The one he says there is a BDC, so from memory it's like a standard duplex with a handful of lines underneath the centre crosshair. So
there's probably better options for reticule for long range too.
Yeah. I would agree.
Has anyone had any experience with the Nikons and all the Bushnells? I think they make like a dedicated 22 type of long range scope, if we call it long range.
Yep. I
AR
have had a little play with one of those. Yeah. I'm not so sure about the what the question I would have for it is how well it dials, how consistent it dials.
Yeah, because they're very cheap.
They
come at a very easy to enter into price point.
Absolutely, which is I guess why my question is how well does it dial, because generally speaking,
tracking test tracking
is always the one
murdered.
Tracking could suffer. And the reason I ask is I haven't seen any data on it and haven't seen anyone do it. So it's, to be fair, I haven't gone looking for anyone to do it either. But that would be the first thing I'd be checking out if there is any info around on that. But that would be a really good point, Tom, that particular scope could suit that gun quite well in that price bracket. Greg, have you got any thoughts on that, the 22 side of things?
No, I haven't actually. No, I haven't done a lot with 22s for quite a while. Never had a Bruno, and sorry, I'll step away from that one.
back away.
I use a 22 as a trap gun when I trap foxes, and that's it. It doesn't even have a scope on it. So, I'm no good.
No, but you have been around 22 competitions like that before.
I've rode for 22 comps.
Yeah.
And look, that particular comp, the day I rode, it was I guess the
new guys,
new people, new people having a go. And what was great to see was it was all sorts of people, boyfriends and girlfriends, wives coming out for a shot. It was really great to see. We had a couple of really serious guys in there, and it ranged from was it the PWS, the little side cocking jobby, right through to stuff they just grabbed out of the cupboard. And they just had an absolute ball.
And it didn't, particularly that level, some of the stuff they just grabbed, like the farm gun.
Yep.
Didn't do bad.
It didn't do bad. The only thing probably that was restricting them the most was some of them had little to no magazine size.
Yeah, fair point.
Some guys really cope well with that. I was surprised, actually. They're like manically reloading on the fly. And it's like, man, that was really well done. But,
but the Bruno doesn't suffer from that because you can get 10-round mags comfortably for that gun.
Exactly.
So you got a good basis to start from.
Yeah, those comps, I don't think... there's a lot of people doing really well with just pretty standard 22s. So that's what I saw. was good.
We're starting to run them as our local club matches.
Good.
For on the tactical weekend, and it's you're right, significantly popular.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming out. We're getting that 15, 16 people and we also the course of fire can be, as you know, a bit more interesting. Not too far to walk down to Fort Squirrel and Patrick, come back.
No, absolutely.
And your steel targets can be a bit more easy to put out because you don't reckon them all the time, and it's just it's heaps of fun and still challenging, as we know.
Oh yeah,
you got a left or like everyone thinks it's easy to hit with a bit of a left-right wind. 100 meters. Good luck. They haven't really done enough long-range shooting.
No, that's the thing I do like about it is the challenge is there, and I guess I'd like to encourage anyone who is at a particular club and they want to get into the practical side of thing, and they got a fairly comfortable 22 template that they can run. If you need some help, get in touch, and we'd love to sort of point in the right direction of getting some 22 stuff happening, or just get stuck into it because it's good. It's really good fun and really accessible and easy to get up and running. And as we said before, most people have 22, so you can usually get a few numbers for it.
Do you guys have the same argument we have at the club? Sorry, when I say argument, the pub, of course, when we discuss all our strategic thinking, the benefits of sub-velocity, standard velocity, and hypervelocity in those 22 matches.
Yep.
Is there a consensus?
The consensus, as far as I'm concerned, and perhaps a number of people I've spoken to, is subsonic is generally the way to go. Keeping it sub.
Yep.
Yeah, we're starting to experience that as well.
Yeah, not having that potential lack of stability through the transonic range, particularly for a projectile that is not designed very well to handle that, is certainly keeping it subsonic seems to go well, and that's backed up by the chapter in that Modern Advancements in Long Range Shooting, Volume 2 from Litz, who then talks about that. And I know we've discussed that on the show before, and my experience with that, and that what he speaks about in there sort of rung true with what I was sort of thinking at the time, and went, okay, that makes sense. At least there's now some data to sort of back up the gut feel for some stuff. So
I think a lot of
it's good.
22 target shooters have been shooting subs for
years. But usually it's that distance. Range, so when you're going, there's a 250 metre target for your 22.
Yeah.
The initial thoughts are, I better be going as fast as I can go, which makes sense on the surface, but you scratch a little bit and you go, okay, well, maybe subsonic might be the way to go, and our data's backed that up, and then obviously a book like that comes out and you go, oh wow, okay, right, the experts agree as well.
You can't argue with real data, can you?
No, well you can, but you'll lose.
Yeah, you'll lose.
Excellent. So Alex, thank you very much for listening. That's certainly a lot of different things in there to talk about, and hopefully the guys who have listened along have been able to take something from there that's relevant to what they're doing. Simon, can you give us the dates for the next? Actually, give us the couple of shoots if you have them there. If not, I do actually have them in front of me now as well. Your next shoot's in Sydney.
Yeah, there's for those guys interested in listening to the podcast, we've got a couple of websites up running, and obviously our Facebook pages are quite popular. I'll just bring up the quickly.
I may have cheated. So 29th of October is the Sydney one.
Yep. And the Castlemaine's on the 19th of November, and the final Canberra one's on the 3rd of December. The Hornsby flight has gone up. It's actually quite good because it's actually a short range match, 100, 200, 300, and 400 by memory.
Oh wow!
So.
Okay.
Lots of rounds in different types of service positions.
Yep.
Jared's always good with his flyers up, so he always likes to experiment on the theme of prone supported or prone unsupported.
Yep.
As the case may be. And then my match in Canberra will be obviously the popular match 200, shot between 200 500 yards, which is the Army sniper assessment match.
Okay.
That we sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Get everyone to peg their their sort of where they sit in terms of if you're just seeing if you've improved over the year. We always say if you get over 300 points, then you're doing really well.
Okay.
And so it's sort of like the core match that you can the streak doesn't change, so you can always see how you're faring.
It's a good way to do
yeah,
it.
there's the they're the 3 matches, and then hopefully we'll crown a new champion through the year. And I'd just like to thank you, Rusty, too, for your support throughout the year, which has been fantastic, really pleasing.
So it's great to see it. Great to see it going in 11 matches. Is it similar sort of setup for next year in terms of the number of matches and such, or a few more?
Yeah, you're right. We always run a planning session, a bit of strategy session at the end of the year.
Yep.
At the end of the Canberra shoot, we get Brian and Jared and myself in a room, and we talk about what our goals and what our wants are for the year. Because as you know, there's we have to think about strategies like growth. Well, do we sustain the numbers? We grow the numbers. We're always looking for people to run matches of this style, and obviously we're absolutely here to help because obviously we're passionate about it. So we like to think that other people will buy into that passion. Hopefully Queenslanders, because Queensland, I don't know if you know, is a massive service rifle state. Combined service rifle up there is huge. It's probably the state.
Okay.
And in fact, we're running our combined services nationals here in Canberra in a week, which means we're shooting another version of the long range match there.
Excellent.
If anyone's interested in getting into this type of shooting, obviously reach out. But yeah, hopefully next year will be bigger and better, and more importantly, people are improving, because we do sit down and talk about what really is it that the shoots that we do. Why do we put all that effort in, volunteer all that effort, all that hardship, sometimes all the angst, and it really is about seeing people improve. Guys turn up to our matches, we're getting 5 or 6 out of 300, and now they're getting consistently 280s, 290s out of 300, and that's just brilliant, because they're just learning so much, and like-minded individuals, social learning, talking, experiencing what it's all about, and then they go away and talk to other people, and if it flows down, then it can do nothing but good things for the sport and the general shooting community as well. So I'm I find myself very lucky that we're doing what we're doing because, as you know, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why I really enjoy talking with you, Simon, at the matches that we've been to and bits and pieces on here, because you're passionate, you're excited, and you've been doing this a long time, really, now. And
2011.
Yep.
2011, so 7 years, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really for this sort of stuff. That's some of the early adopters, and you still we can all hear it in your voice. You're still really passionate about it, still really excited about it, and your desire is to see people grow and develop. And no, it's excellent. So guys, if you can get along to one of these matches, please do. Make sure if you do get along, introduce yourself to Simon, and no doubt he will be really excited to have you there, and do what he can to help you hit targets. Unless you're using his rifle and about to beat you, and he maybe throw you a few curveballs. I don't know.
That's right. Don't worry, Rusty. I'll bring a spare rifle for you when you go to Castlemaine. But
I can't wait.
I also want to do a big shout out to all the companies now springing up do offer long range courses. I wasn't skeptical at first. I sort of really hoped it would work out well. But the feedback I get from people who attend those courses, the matches, are just simply fantastic. Everyone learns something at those courses, because we all do get a bit blasé that I've been doing it for so long. I know everything. But as technology changes, as competitions become tougher, in my world, and hunting becomes, sort of, I don't know what the word we're looking for. You try to better yourself in terms of further. That's right. You should always be thinking that you can always learn from other people. So if you do want to get in the sport and you're a bit nervous, join one of those courses, because the feedback I get is really encouraging. So don't hesitate to once again get out there and talk to people about their experiences, because that's the almost the golden golden bullet of success.
Yeah, absolutely. Sharing that knowledge and passing it on, and if that's in a formalised environment, then wonderful, because that those people that are there to help you improve. Or if that's in an informal environment, going to comps. We always say to guys that the best way to sort of be able to ascertain where you're up to and what you need to learn is go shoot a comp. And you will very quickly work out where you need to work on, and you also will improve very significantly. So it's good. So keep running comps, and we'll keep doing training, and hopefully continue to grow and see more people. So excellent, Simon. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's been wonderful having your input into this. I'm sure Alex appreciates, and the others that are on the listening away to the podcast as well. So thank you for your time.
Not a problem, Rusty, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
No dramas at all. And Greg, any plans this weekend to get out, mate?
No, none this weekend, but hopefully in the next few weeks. Yeah, no. The pups are out now. The fox pups are out, so it's game on. It's
right.
game on. So this is where I up the ante. So I'll be out to all my properties over the coming weeks, and hopefully give you a bit of a rundown when I get back.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully the thermal performs back on deck.
Yeah, I reckon I got it sorted. So should be right.
Cool, and give us the name of your YouTube channel again, if you remember it. Last time you didn't.
What is it? Terminal Performance.
I'm glad you remembered this time.
No, I'm not on there very often.
No,
I'm about to put 3 or 4 videos up there. Of the last trip.
Yep, check it out. If you like thermal images of small little animals getting blown apart,
feral animals, of course.
Appropriate ones. Then certainly worthwhile checking out and following what Greg does on there. And also a little shout out. We're doing all the shout outs at the moment to Hunting HQ as well.
Yep.
Have you guys done your episode number 4 yet?
No, we missed it last Wednesday.
Okay.
So next Wednesday we should get another episode up.
Yep, no problems.
Got plenty to talk about. So if you're interested, just for now, we've got the Instagram going.
Yeah,
that's Huntin HQ.
No G.
Yeah, no G with a that's right. With an underscore in between IN
Hunting and
HQ.
Huntin and
Huntin
HQ.
HQ.
Yeah, check it out and have a listen. There are a few podcasts up floating about now, so they're good. They're good.
Bit of a laugh.
I thoroughly enjoy rum facts, by the way. Please pass that on to
the Rum Baron.
Yep, to the Rum Baron for me. They keep them flowing.
Yeah, we're working on the Facebook, but definitely Instagram.
You guys do a good feed.
We'll try and we're all not very social media savvy, so we're working on it.
Yeah, that's right. You're keeping up with technology. Nicely done. And last thing we will mention, guys, who if you do like the podcast, we would really appreciate any support through Patreon you can do. If you're in that position, that'd be absolutely amazing. Check it out. At least have a little look, and we will continue to make these podcasts and keep pumping them out and. Hopefully, keep putting knowledge out there. All right, gentlemen. Thank you all for playing along tonight, and we'll be back again sometime in the future.
All right, catch you later.
Thanks, Rusty.
Thanks for listening to the Precision Shooting Podcast. To continue the discussion, check out our Facebook page. And for more information, head to our website, www.precisionshootingpodcast.com.au. This episode was brought to you by Scoped Out Shooting Optics and Accessories.